What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday, March 1st. We have flipped that calendar, baby. How y'all doing here this morning? Appreciate you tuning in. However, wherever you may be tuning in, radio dials, a couple of those, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online at sportstalk1051.com. Got your Google and Alexa home devices, the Sports Talk app, and your video stream that's also up and rolling as well. Check that out if you'd like to. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. But yeah, happy Wednesday, making a turn. Stock reports are due. Whose stock's rising? Whose stock is falling? We'll get to that as we usually do every Wednesday morning. What else do we got on the good old game plan here? Hey, we're gonna get some reaction from Goody's comments yesterday. Had a couple of pressers yesterday at the NFL Combine. I know we kind of touched on it towards the end yesterday, but in case you missed some of the stuff that he had to say, we'll go through that. But I want your reaction, and yeah, what do you think? Where are you at? We are actually going to hear from Aaron Rodgers at some point today. It sounds like he's going to be on some sort of podcast, or he was on some sort of podcast. But that'll be like his first comment since coming out of the darkness. Whether he says anything in there or not, I have no idea. I can't even try to fathom to get into the thinking of one Aaron Charles Rodgers, but I'm sure everybody's going to be, kind of dissecting and listening to that podcast and trying to figure out something and trying to find a little bit of information in there, right? So, but yeah, we'll kind of go through. Not only did Goody talk about Aaron Rodgers, but essentially said David Bakhtiari will be back. That they are working on a restructure. Pretty much alluded that Mason Crosby is going to be back. Also said that they're hopeful to get a restructure done with Kenny Clark. So opening up more cap space and kicking that can down the road using a credit card a little bit more there too. So, but I thought he was fairly open about the whole Bakhtiari thing and Kenny Clark and such, and pretty much said too that Mason Crosby is going to be back. So, your thoughts on those? On those potential moves coming down the wire and such, but we'll hit that all up coming up here in just a little bit on our opening drive. Bucks make it 15 wins in a row, 1-5 with a W last night against Brooklyn. They were down at the half, but second half performance from the Bucks. They outscored Nets by 16 points in the third, holding the Nets to just 19 in the fourth. 118-104 victory. Bucks improving to 44-17. Giannis in 28 minutes of action, 33 points, 15 rebounds. He returned to the lineup last night. Drew Holiday, 14. Chris Middleton coming off the bench and putting up 18 points. So Bucks getting it done again, and a quick turnaround here for the Bucks because they were in Brooklyn last night. They'll be home tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. As we said, it's now we're flipping the calendar to March, the last full month of the regular season in the NBA. Think about that, last full month of the regular season. Then got a few games to open up in April, and boom, we're already into the postseason. Gotta love it. Bucks right now, if you're looking at the standings, holding on to a half-game lead over Boston. They were up by percentage points before the game last night. That win now, putting them up a half a game on the Bucks there. So, yeah, keep rolling, right? Playing some good hoops right now. Seems like they've picked up where they left off before the All-Star break. Gotta love it. You wait till this team is like fully healthy too. I mean, they pretty much had everybody back last night. So, whew, gonna be a tough out. Gonna be a tough out. So we'll talk some hoops. Speaking of Milwaukee hoops, Marquette officially official now. Wrap up the Big East regular season title with their win last night. So they got that trophy. As we mentioned the other day, they were leading in the Big East. Got the moving up to the 6th seed, the highest ranking that they've ever had. Got to go back to the 77-78 season. But now you got Dickie V going out on Twitter saying if his vote for Coach of the Year would be Shaka Smart. That's where my vote would have been. Been saying it for the last week or so. But Marquette playing some good hoops. Could they be a little bit of a threat when it gets to tournament time? Can they make a deep run? Got a little bit yet before that, but hey, the way college hoops has been going so far this season, never say never, right? This is going to be a weird tournament. Weird in terms of, I think anything can happen at this point. I really do. I mean, Houston, Alabama, Kansas, UCLA are your top 4 teams. You got Purdue and Marquette, Baylor, Arizona, Texas, and Gonzaga to to round out the top 10. I don't even know how to make this season out so far. But I love it. If my team's not in it, they don't have a shot. I just want some parity in this thing. So let's do it up, baby. I like it. So we'll talk some hoops a little bit later. Iowa picked up a big win in the Big Ten over at Indiana last night too. Indiana was 15th ranked, but Iowa cruising 90-68 over them last night. Whew, man. We're going to talk, let's throw in a little baseball chats coming up here too. Brewers yesterday gets the Cubbies spring training, picking up a 6-3 win, but we saw another homer from Rowdy Tellez, Brian Anderson, Toro, all coming away with dingers last night, or yesterday afternoon, excuse me. But, a lot of, as we've kind of been, mentioning ever since he signed on, there's been a lot of you listeners out there that said, not a big signing by any stretch of the means, but cautiously optimistic, maybe the best way to put it. Maybe a little bit of a dark horse, but a lot of you kind of talk about Brian Anderson. You like that move. You think he could be a nice surprise this year. I was kind of following the game yesterday, and some people were noting, if he is going to be that third baseman over there, Brewers might have one of the strongest left-sided arms when you factor in Willie Adames and Brian Anderson. Both those dudes got some pretty solid arms over there. So I guess, there's that one thing to put into consideration a little bit there too. But Yelich, another game, a couple at bats, picked up a hit, also struck out a couple times yesterday too. Willie Adames getting some extended playing time, 3 at bats. 2 hours and 11 minutes. I think I saw what the game length was yesterday for the game. I think that's, I'll have to double check it, but I think that's what it officially came in as. 2 hours and 11 minutes. And I get spring training is probably a little bit more quicker. And when we get to the regular season, I don't know if those numbers will hold up, to be honest with you. But yeah, 2 hours and 11 minutes. 2 hours and 11 minutes. Wow. All right. Just rolling on through. That is a 9-inning game, too. So we'll talk some baseball on there. What else do we got here? We got, as mentioned, stock reports. We're going to do a little showdown as we wrap up the first round in our bracket challenge. This morning we'll hit up 93 versus 2003. We'll do that in the 8 o'clock hour. We got a little sports vigilante coming up in the next hour too. So we'll get to that. But we lead things off here this morning, talking a little bit of gold. Now that we've heard from the Packers general manager, Brian Gutekunst, obviously the big topic was Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Charles Rodgers. Has he heard? Has a decision been made? I'm sure you probably all heard some of the comments from yesterday, but before we take that break and before we get into our opening drive, yesterday, and kind of get your thoughts and analysis on it. All right. Well, here it is. Audio courtesy from Packers.com this morning. Goody talking to the local, and when I say local, like the Packers media contingent. Then he went up to the podium and such. But here's a little bit from Goody
The
yesterday.
update.
All right, so that's just a little bit. We'll hear a little bit more from Goody coming up later on. But the big, I guess, comment or thing that he said was at the beginning that a lot of people have been kind of running with on social media when he was flat out asked, "Do you want Aaron Rodgers back as your starting quarterback?" And he didn't say yes or no. Kind of danced around it, right? And a lot of people have been kind of trying to, I guess, nitpick or look at his answer there and like, oh, does that say that he doesn't want Aaron Rodgers to come back and such? I've got a different thought on it. Now, if you follow me on the socials, you probably saw it yesterday, but in case you didn't, I've got a different theory on that. So I'll hit that up coming up in just a few minutes. But your thoughts on just some little bit there from what you heard from Goody, and maybe you heard the other comments and more of his pressers. But give me your analysis. Hit me up with a text on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line if you'd like, 715-830-1912. We'll hear more from Goody as well, including, where he said that they're working with David Bakhtiari on a restructure, hoping to get something done with Kenny Clark on a restructure. Mason Crosby sounds like he's going to be back too. And he kind of talked about an Aaron Rodgers restructure. So lots to hit up on. Let's just get it going. First break, opening drive, your reaction, your thoughts, your analysis from Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst's comments from yesterday. We are now at that point in time where we are just itching for spring and summer to get here, right? Turning the calendar over to March, that's when I feel like that's when that itch really gets going for spring for me. And we've been getting teased with some of these warmer temperatures here and there, but it is Wisconsin, so you never know what could happen. But it's also a good reminder that hey, it's a good time to start thinking about maybe getting your vehicle ready for the spring or summer. Maybe some trips, road trips, little vacay or something like that. Spring break, maybe it's getting close that time and picking back up your summer vehicle restoration project too. So you can get ready for the car shows and such. Whether you're needing to get your vehicle ready for some road trips or car shows, ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire is ready to help you get ready. New tires, batteries, or a quick oil change, ASAP Used Auto Parts has that all covered for you. And about those hard to find, high quality used auto parts to either help you save some money on a repair job or that restoration project, ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you find that part that you're looking for. And don't forget, they also offer a military discount too. So the amazing customer service at ASAP Used Auto Parts wants to help you with your auto needs. So stop on by at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire and visit their website at asapuseautopartsec.com. All right, opening drive this morning. Let's get it rolling here. Opening play, right? Opening playbook here. Let's talk a little green and golds. The combine going on yesterday. We heard from Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst. You heard a little bit there from his media session with the local media. How about when he opened it up for everybody else at the podium? Here's just a little bit from Goody yesterday as well. All right. So what does he have to say about maybe Jordan Love though too? All right. So he also earlier said too that they've been in constant contact with Jordan Love and his team, which includes the same agent as Aaron Rodgers, throughout this whole process or whole ordeal, if that's what you want to call it. So, um, here's my thoughts on the whole, Goody not directly saying, "Yes, I want Aaron Rodgers back as our quarterback." I think it's all a I mean, I get why he's doing it. I think it's all like a public relations PR type of thing. He's got to play both sides in this thing. On one hand, he doesn't want to, say no, we don't want Aaron Rodgers back, and that's going to cause more issues, more drama, more this, that, the other thing. And in the same breath, if he goes and says yes, we want Aaron Rodgers back, he's going to you know piss off Jordan Love probably and piss off his team, and then they're going to be like, okay, we want out of here, we want to trade, get us out of here so we can play. You don't want me as your quarterback, I don't want to be here. And then, if Aaron decides like, no, I want to retire or, go on and you already pissed off Jordan Love, your hands are kind of tied. It's a PR thing. He's trying to manage both sides here. So that's why I understand and I get why Goody isn't just going out there and saying, we want 12 back. We want Aaron back. Matt LaFleur said it, but it's a different role for Goody. He's kind of got to play both sides. I don't know what Goody's thinking. I think he will be comfortable in whatever situation may arise in this whole thing, whether Aaron is coming back or whether Aaron retires or such. I think he feels comfortable in either situation. Maybe he has, one feeling one way or the other. But ultimately, I think right now he's just playing that kind of playing almost a mediator, or like I think I mentioned in Green and Gold Talk, he's like Sweden. He's trying to play a neutral party right now and trying to navigate both those waters. And really, like he's been saying, and I know it's frustrating. Hell, it's frustrating for me. I just want a decision. We're sitting here and been complaining about it at the end of February, and let's be real with ourselves. We went through Favre, and Favre went a little bit longer than a lot of this stuff too. So I'm just throwing that out there. But you know, I'm kind of tired of it, and I think maybe it might be a little bit different now as compared to Favre back in the day because we have social media and Facebook and Twitter, whatever. So it's always a constant reminder. It's always out there. It's always talked about. But and again, I know a lot of like the national peeps and other people on Twitter are like, why didn't he just say yes or no or anything? Like, why if he didn't say yes, that means he doesn't want him. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's because he has to play that role of making everybody happy, not trying to cause any drama one way or the other, kind of deflecting it all. And until Aaron makes a decision of what he wants to do, then they go. Then they run with it. Because I still feel like there's if I had to do the whole, meter thing where it's going or where it's trending, I still think that arrow kind of just barely goes towards Aaron playing for Green Bay this year. And I think if that were the case, I think Goody still wants to hold on to Jordan Love. And I think he's singing his praises and saying all this stuff and, being nice. And, I mean, he's got nothing but positive stuff to say, even saying, yeah, he's got to play. He's got to play. He's got to play. So maybe it could be it's something that wants to keep him. Or maybe it's just something, hey, this can also help maybe boost up his trade stock or something. I don't know. But he's kind of playing a little bit of a maestro role here. He's got to be doing a bunch of different things at once and trying to navigate all this stuff. And oh, by the way, figure out who he's drafting with the 15th overall pick. We're supposed to hear from Rodgers in a podcast today at some point. I think whose podcast is this? Is this let me see if I find it on Twitter here. Yeah, Aubrey Marcus, whoever the heck that is. But I don't know if like he's gonna be. I highly doubt this is where his announcement is gonna be. But I know in like the trailer of this podcast or footage or whatever the heck you want to call it. Here, I'll just play it here for you guys right now to hear. So this is audio courtesy from Aubrey Marcus's Twitter account. It looks like. I don't know what the hell. I mean, it's fancy music intro, trailer, whatever the hell you want to call it right now. But I don't know. I don't feel like we're going to hear anything on a podcast. Could be wrong. It is Aaron, so I guess you never know what could transpire from there. But I'm sure everybody's going to be tuning in, and I'm sure the listens for that podcast are going to skyrocket today whenever that thing drops and such. But you know, nothing really new, I guess, to to really report on the Rodgers front, right? There's just nothing new. Again, I think it's Goody, even though he's not out there saying, yes, I want him back, I don't think he really can without upsetting one side or the other. And he's trying to, be that person that doesn't upset anybody and trying to navigate that sort of stuff. So, but I do think, besides the Rodgers talk that he was getting at yesterday, I think there are a couple of notable things that he did mention. One, that they are working with Bakhtiari on a restructure, which I think is interesting. Not in the fact that they're bringing him back, but I'll be curious to see what potentially that restructure will look like, because I thought, okay, maybe this year, they go in and one more year left, and they maybe perhaps move on from him after this upcoming year where it's a little bit less of a dead cap hit, right? So, I mean, if they decide to move on from him this year to take on his cap, if we're rounding up 28.8 million according to Spot Track, dead cap would be 23. So, you're saving about 5 million if you like cut traded him or something like that. But if you look at next year for 2024, I mean, his cap hits around 33 million, but if they moved on from him, dead cap would only be about 11.6. So you're saving about 20 some $1 million. So part of me was like, okay, do they just roll with it for this year and then move on from him next year? But, depending on how they restructure this, I don't know if it'd be like a pay cut, like an Aaron Jones thing, or if they're just going to kick the can down the road here a little bit. If that's what they decide to do, I kind of wonder, are they plan on keeping him maybe for a couple more years? He did say yesterday that Bakhtiari has cleared the hurdle, with his knee. Whatever that means, whether they believe now he can be a full go and they don't have to worry about him playing on turf or managing his reps or anything like that, I don't know. But I'll be really curious to see how this restructure of David Bakhtiari's contract is, because I think that'll tell us a little bit about perhaps his future outside of this year. Is it a cut kind of like Aaron Jones, or are they just like, converting some of that money into a bonus and, kind of just spreading out the hit a little bit more? Are they adding some void years to that thing? Because right now it doesn't look like Bakhtiari's contract has any void years on there. So, we'll see. Also of note, he alluded that that they are hoping to get something done with Kenny Clark's contract too. A little bit of a restructure there. He also did say, not to go back to Aaron, but he did say that Rodgers' contract will be restructured if he returns. He also said that he feels like Aaron would want to do what's best for the team and such. But he also said too, Mason Crosby, it sure sounds like he wants Mason Crosby back. Quote, I think you'll see a stronger leg and a different power in his leg on kickoffs this coming year, just because he won't be coming off that surgery. So I know some people kind of thought it would just be the end of Mason Crosby. He is an unrestricted free agent. You go a little bit younger, maybe one of those youngsters with a little bit of a stronger leg and such. There is a little bit of risk reward with that too. How many teams kind of flush through kickers, yet the teams that still have some veterans on there, you look at the 49ers with Robbie Gould and such, the stability factor when it comes to your kicking game. It's a big thing. I mean, look at the Cowboys, last year. They'd be pretty darn nervous going into the postseason, right? But I thought those were probably the biggest things to come out of Goody's presser yesterday. Oh, and as we are just saying that Field Yates from ESPN just tweeted that the Packers have converted 13.835 million of Kenny Clark's 2023 compensation into a signing bonus, creating a massive $11.068 million in cap space. That's a good chunk of change to create that in cap space. That's interesting. Now you factor in that they're probably going to get something done with David Bakhtiari to create more cap space. I mean, okay, you guys know me in math, but 11.06 million. They had about 6 million in cap space. That tells me right now Green Bay's got what, around $17 million in cap space available. If these numbers for Kenny Clark is accurate, you add in David Bakhtiari restructure, you're going to get probably over $20 million available in cap space. If you sign Rashawn Gary to a long-term deal, you're going to lower that cap hit for this year. Factor in a draft class, you maybe got 15 to $20 million available in cap space. And then if Rodgers comes back, I mean, you got the whole Green Bay's okay. So do you think this tells us anything about what Green Bay is going to try to do, maybe in free agency or this upcoming season, with all this restructure, with all of this money being moved around and maybe pushed? I mean, for Kenny Clark's sake, this is actually kicking the can down the road. I mean, they're spreading out that cap hit a little bit more. I mean, they're creating a lot of cap space this year with Aaron Rodgers on the team, with his number on the books right now. That tell us anything about what maybe they are thinking about, their plans? Are they going to try to run it back again? Doesn't feel like this is a rebuild. I feel like if this is a rebuild, you're not kicking the can down the road here. You're not spreading out the cap hit like they're doing. They're not doing all these restructures. If you're in a full-on rebuild, you're not doing all that stuff. Sure seems like maybe they're trying to run it back, retool it, go for it again. I don't know. That's what I feel like at this point. Interesting, but that's 11.06 million in cap space. And you factor in, yeah, Bakhtiari going to get something done. I think Rashawn's going to get a contract extension to lower the 10.9, $10.8 million cap hit that he has this year. And then, of course, Aaron, Green Bay's going to have some money to play with here. You got to factor in the draft class, that draft pool on there. That's going to be what? Maybe around $6 million, but interesting. Kind of makes you wonder, are they really going to try to bring back an Allen Lazard? Or try to go out there and bring in a couple other veteran free agents to try to run this thing back? But what does it tell you, do you think, that Green Bay's really trying to open up some cap space this year? Really trying to do it? Because that, to me, doesn't tell me like they're in a rebuild or anything type of mode. I think they feel like they can, and maybe they're looking at that NFC. We mentioned it the other day. We're like, okay, look at the quarterbacks in the NFC right now. Can we take advantage of that? Can we go at it? NFC South, it's a wide open race. NFC West, 49ers are a pretty darn good team, but there's questions who's going to play quarterback for them. Rams, I mean, they're trying to get under. You want to talk about the Rams, kind of a little bit of a different approach. They released Bobby Wagner. There's reports that they're going to trade Jalen Ramsey. So they're looking maybe to kind of start over. Arizona, Kyler Murray, when's he going to be back? Are they even going to be a contender this year? NFC North, Vikings will be there. Chicago's got a lot of money to play with. Detroit, going to be there. Heck, I think the NFC North and the NFC East might be the two best conferences in the NFC this year. Factor in Detroit, factor in Minnesota, NFC East, Dallas, Philly. Will the Giants get back to the postseason? How much better will Washington be? Can they find a quarterback? Interesting. What are your thoughts on all these money movements from Green Bay? Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com Casper Sports, or hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. Interesting. All right, quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Price, quality, customer service. That's the big three I look for when I'm looking to get a big project done. And sometimes it can be hard to find all those three in one place. But when it comes to replacing your flooring, one place hits all three of my marks. That's Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. They hit the pricing mark because they will match or beat the competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. Quality is pretty darn easy because they have all the best and the top of the line flooring options you could ask for. And they carry the best brands in carpet, tile, luxury vinyl, and more. Customer service, well, where do I begin there? They're with you through every step of the process, from finding that floor that fits your budget and what looks and works the best in your home or office. It's easily one of the best, most courteous, helpful, and friendly staffs you could work for. Taking on big projects can be a little nervous to think about, but when it comes to replacing your flooring, that nervousness goes away with the help from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Just visit them today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue and check them out for yourself. Going through some of the comments on the texting line and such. Seems like a lot of you saying it seems to me that Green Bay is going to try to run it back this year. That's kind of the majority of where everybody's at right now. Now, I don't know if it necessarily means one way or the other with Aaron coming back or such. I don't think that necessarily, kind of signifies whether they think Aaron's going to be coming back or not. I honestly think whether they're right or wrong, time will tell. But I honestly think they feel like they can win and go deep in the postseason and win a championship, whether it's Aaron or Jordan Love at quarterback. That's what I feel like they can. Now, is that what everybody else feels like? Probably divided, probably split on that point, but that's why they play the games. We'll see it. But I don't know. I still think it's kind of interesting too that they are pushing some money into the future and such, and opening up quite a bit of cap space this year. Because if my math, if those numbers are correct with the Kenny Clark thing, they've got to be close to right now about $20 million available in cap space. And if Bakhtiari creates more cap space, that's going to be interesting to kind of. I'll be curious to see what over the cap and spot track when they do their math and what numbers they kind of show for Green Bay. I'll have to check it out later this morning and get that number out there, man. All right. Keep sending your thoughts, whether it's on what Goody had to say yesterday or what you think. A lot of these moves of clearing up cap space for this year. Does that tell you anything? Again, the majority of you, it looks like, if not all of you, with some of your texts saying, feels like they're going to try to run it back this year. Maybe take advantage of an NFC that, compared to the AFC, is a little bit down in talent and like quarterback play, if you will. So, but we'll get back to some more of your thoughts on that coming up a little bit later on. Don't forget stock reports: stock up, stock down. Whose stocks are up, whose stocks are down. We'll get to those probably about let's shoot for 745, 750 around there. And then we got a little showdown. The 2 years that we're going to be pitting against each other is 93 and 2003. And then next week will be the last one in the first round of our bracket. That'll be 01 versus 2010. So, but we'll hit that up at about, let's say, 8:20. And then we got a little sports vigilante coming up as well later on this hour. I want to get to some Bucks chat too. Bucks picking up their 15th straight win, defeating the new look Nets, can we call it? The Nets last night. So 15 in a row. Bucks are going to be back at it again tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic for their 16th straight win. Giannis returns to the lineup last night. Bucks looking like getting a little bit more healthy. Getting a little bit more healthy there. So, also locally wise, we had some playoff hoops action last night too. So, a lot of A lot of that. I know Regis rallied past Osseo Fairchild last night. Eau Claire North. Um, they fell to Wausau West in some boys basketball action. So Menominee defeated New Richmond. Menominee's going to be at my Medford Raiders over there. Medford being the 1 seed. So Bloomer taking down Spooner. Bloomer's going to be at Baldwin Woodville on Friday. St. Croix Falls taking down Barron. They're going to be at Osceola. GET defeated Altoona in overtime in boys basketball. And Stanley Boyd falling as well. Mauston defeating Arcadia. Mauston's going to be at Elk Mound on Friday. Shell Lake defeating Webster. They're going to be at Unity. Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser defeating Grantsburg. They're going to be at Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser. Is going to be at Cameron on Friday as well. So Spring Valley defeating Augusta. And then Colfax defeated Blair Taylor. Colfax is going to be at Fall Creek on Friday. Melrose Mindoro defeated Cadott. And Neelsville defeated Mondovi. So Neelsville is going to be at Durand, Arkansas. McDonald Central defeated Gilman. Owen Withy defeated Lake Holcomb. I'm just going through. I know I'm probably going to be missing some on here. Rib Lake defeated Turtle Lake. Thorpe defeated Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran. So Brandon will break all that down for us coming up on Friday, though. So what's up, Morgs?
Hey, what's the good word?
No.
Where'd you get your Eau Claire Express hoodie?
I've had it for a while.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's probably my most comfortable one.
When are they kicking it back up again?
Got a couple months in May there. So, yeah, end of May, first part of June.
Good deal.
Yeah.
And you ready to switch gears to baseball now for sure? Go deeper. Are you brackets? Are you brackets before baseball?
Yeah.
March Madness time?
Yeah, I think March Madness this year is going to be a little bit more fun, too, just because of all the uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, that is why they play the game. That makes it more fun.
You don't have the traditional blue bloods, although Kentucky's playing.
Who are you going to go up against? Are you going to do an office pool? Like, no. do you feel like your odds are good at getting your brackets anywhere near the top this year?
No.
No, not at all?
No. We'll do our own bracket thing on here, but
yeah.
I have no confidence in my picks whatsoever.
Hey. So this will probably be the year you do the best.
Yeah, because I didn't get the Rogers one right. So
I'm still hanging in there. You got TD Josh.
I really hope you're not right, because that's like way into the new year. But
right.
You never know.
And I'm telling you, I know that it looks ridiculous at first glance. Like, Morgan, what a moron. You might as well lose the G out of your name. I get it. But what I'm saying is that Rogers likes drama, and if he announces too much too soon, there goes all the attention and he loses the spotlight.
Well, he's on a podcast, so it's going to drop today.
You think?
Did you hear the? Well, I don't think he'll announce it, but did you hear the trailer?
There's a trailer for the podcast.
Put your headphones
Hit
on
me,
here
Trixie.
Quickly.
Oh my God.
Good violence.
Okay. Did you throw up a little bit in your mouth? See, I'm not opposed to people like digging deep, however you want to chill out. If it's in the deer stand and you just kind of shut your mind off, or if you go into a formal retreat, which by the by, this looked more like a cozy and outfitted tiny home than it did an actual tent of retrieval. Yeah. But sure, whatever it does it for you and you get that information, that's fine. But this almost seems manufactured to me, like he's doing it because it sounds outrageous to some people and simply because it does turn the focus and the attention back to him, the game and the team and that kind of thing, which I think is more of the more you have to make a production out of what you're going to say, the less substance there is in what you're saying is my thought.
Exactly. So,
all right. Well, I appreciate you playing the trailer for an announcement that may or may not come.
Marcus podcast, I guess.
Out of where?
I have no idea who this guy is.
Okay, so it's not like he's calling in the big guns.
Listens and downloads are going to spike up today when that episode drops.
Yeah, strategy.
So,
all right. Yeah, well, next time we got to play the Wednesday wild card so we can hear what you have to say. What comes to you when you come out of the darkness, Kasper?
I think I should start doing that a little bit more.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I'll turn the lights off on my way out. You can
We should
start
do that.
today.
Should
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
Well,
Let us
thanks,
know.
Morgs.
Anytime.
We got stock reports and we've got some sports nuggets of the day coming up after these news updates. Second hour kicking off right now. Appreciate you all tuning in, however you're tuning in and wherever you're tuning in. Shout out again to Mr. Waller's third grade class in Medford for that, as Medford boys basketball is now going to be taking on Menominee coming up later on this week. We got a lot of Medford connections with Menominee, so that should be a good one over there, Medford being the 1 seed. So coming up this hour, we're going to do a little sports vigilante. That'll be up in about 10-15 minutes. We are taking your stock risers and stock fallers. You want to hit us up with a text on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line, you can do that, 715-830-1912. Second to last showdown matchup, we've got 93 versus 2003. We'll get to that coming up next hour. Then next week will be the last one there, 2001 versus 2010, before we move into the second round of our bracket challenge. But first, let's kick off this hour, like we usually do, with some sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Ansay Associates. It was 1941. Elmer Layden was named the first commissioner of the NFL. 1949, Joe Louis announced that he was retiring from boxing as world heavyweight boxing champion. Mickey Mantle in 1969, 20 years later, announced his retirement from baseball. 1979, the NCAA granted ESPN the exclusive rights to telecast collegiate events. Wayne Gretzky in 1988 got his 1,050th assist to become the NHL's all-time assist leader. Gordie Howe held that record for 26 years. 1993, the expansion NHL team owned by Disney was named Mighty Ducks. We got Bottom Line 2 debuted on ESPN2 on this day in 1997. And let's go. Oh, yeah. Vancouver Canucks in 2002 said that they would bill Ed Belfour of the Dallas Stars for damaging the visiting team's locker room on February 28th. He broke 2 televisions, a clock, and a VCR and damaged the walls of the dressing room after he was pulled during the first period. Oh, man, VCRs. Yeah, remember those. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Ansay Associates. Speaking of, that was a lot of NHL stuff. Got some trades happening. Patrick Kane getting shipped off to the Rangers there, Lucas.
Wow.
Long time, Chicago Blackhawk there. Obviously won some Stanley Cups and such there, but he's getting shipped off to the Rangers and such. So got kind of a weird trade deadline too for the NHL, isn't it? Like later on in the season, as compared to some other of these
it's fairly
these
late.
leagues,
like
that
a
sort of thing.
Month and a week ahead of, or month and 2 weeks or something like that ahead of the end of the season. So yeah, it's coming up pretty soon, and then the end of the season is going to be here in April. So it is late, traditionally. Compared to the other ones.
Wild got a veteran forward from the Capitals.
Yeah, they've been making some minor moves. Part of that's because their salary cap situation isn't great going down the road with the Parise and Suter buyouts. It's going to get worse as the next few years go on. So they really need a big scoring threat if they want to go deep in the playoffs, and it's going to be really tough to accomplish that based on the assets they've got, based on the contracts they've got coming up. So that's why they've been involved in like 3-team deals, and they're like the other team basically.
But they've been playing well as of late.
They have. They turned around. They were quiet out of the All-Star break. Like, guys, come on. And well, now they have come on, and they're approaching the top of the division. I don't know that they're going to get there. I don't know how much that matters though. For the Wild though, it's really as stacked as the Western Conference is, and as easy as it is to fall out of the top 8 without doing too poorly, they need to get beyond the first round again. That's their entire focus right now. And if that means, if they end up not winning the Central, that's fine. Just get in a position where they can go on a bit of a deeper run. It may mean playing Colorado in the first round. That would suck, but that might be what's necessary at this point. Not that they want to do that, but get further beyond that. Focus less on the opponent and more on playoff durability.
Would it be fair to say, like, if you were a betting man, Lucas, and you were putting some money down, would you put money down that the Stanley Cup champions are going to come from the Eastern Conference this year, just based off the teams in there?
That's the trick with the NHL. Usually funny thing is, it's those teams that do really, 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 really well during the regular season
that suck in the postseason.
Yeah, it's happened. Remember the Lightning had what was it, the all-time points record the other year, and then they lost in the first round.
Yeah.
I would say and here's
Boston's going to be everybody's pick, right?
Yeah. But okay. The Bruins were not expected to be this good. They were expected to be a good team, and they were going to be a playoff team. They were not remotely expected to be history-making in so many categories. Then again, the Lightning the other year, when they were really, really good, I mean, that was part of a run. It's not really over yet for the Lightning. It's not that they're a consistently excellent team. So, again, the rhyme and reason is not really there. I would say yes, I would take the East only because just because it's happened a lot, that does not mean that it will happen again. That a really, really good team will get summarily swept by some also ran 8th seed. It happens, but that's not the rule.
Mm-hmm.
I think Boston, they're deep enough, and they have enough recent playoff experience. This is not a team that was out of the playoffs forever and suddenly came out of nowhere to do this. I think they would be the favorite right now. It's not stupid to go against them, but no, I'm going to agree with you on that.
Do you think, what would you put at the odds? So I'm just kind of looking at, you're talking like historic. So Boston right now has 47 wins. They've played 60 games. The record in NHL history is 62 wins with that Tampa Bay team that you mentioned and the 95-96 Detroit Red Wings. I think Boston has
lost early.
Yeah. You think Boston has a chance to break the regular season record for most wins? They got to win 15 more to tie it?
And what's the
They've
record?
played 60 games so far, and they're at 47 wins.
So they'd have to, and it's about 8. So they'd have to basically go like about
15-7, I think, to tie it, right?
Yeah.
22 games.
I think they can. I'm not sure if that's their goal. That's the next question.
They'd have to lose 7 games. They've only lost 8 so far this year.
Right. So you know what? I think they can get there.
Yeah, I do too.
Based on the percentages, I think they will.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, so because right now, standings wise, they would play this. Here's your regular playoff reminder for how the NHL works. So playoff wise, presuming this computer decides not to freeze. Remember, I got an Apple IIe Plus over here. So right now, the Penguins would be the 8th seed. They got 69 points. The Bruins have 99 points. So a Pittsburgh-Boston matchup in the first round. That potentially could be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I know Pittsburgh's not quite what they used to be, but they're like you'd want to take on like an Ottawa or someone like that. Pittsburgh might actually be able to upset Boston, and I'm not breaking down the matchup, so maybe actually it's a good matchup for Boston. But I totally see that happening.
Yeah,
hate to say it, but that could be a first round upset. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Boston continues to advance, and they're so far ahead of everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I take them as the favorites. Toronto's actually getting pretty good of late. And once again, Toronto's going to have another matchup with Tampa Bay in the first round. And once again, Toronto may not make it out of the first round. It's like rinse and repeat with that team. Is it Jake McCabe now as a Maple Leaf?
I did see that, yeah.
Eau Claire's own?
Eau Claire, yep. Shout out Eau Claire going up to Toronto.
So if you're looking for a non-Wild, non-Kraken rooting interest, you, the listener, maybe...
Hey, my Kraken got a hold on, man. They're not playing well as of late.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know, but they're holding on by the slimmest of teeth right now. They're still third in the Pacific, but
because right now, again,
4-5-1 their last 10.
Well, see, that's okay. So right now, it's Winnipeg. I mean, but they're not in the worst of shape because right now Winnipeg and Edmonton would be the wild cards.
Right.
They're at 72.
They're all three are at 72 points right now.
And Colorado's at 73, Minnesota's at 74. Then there's a bit of a drop off. Calgary's down at 67. And Calgary isn't exactly playing that well of late. No team below them is playing that well right now. I wouldn't be too worried about Seattle falling out of competition. Hey, there is a possibility of a Wild Kraken first round playoff.
If that happens, I'm going.
You better.
I'm going right now. So my connection who's listening right now better secure some tickets for that.
Because again, all 8 teams that would qualify for the playoffs right now are between 70 in the West are between 72 and 76 points. This is about as even as they come. There are some differences in games played. Like the Avalanche have played 3 fewer games than some of the 3 to 4 fewer games than some of these other teams. It'll all shake out eventually. But that's the point. If Minnesota gets to the division championship, Seattle falls into one of the 2 wild cards, depending on how the rankings go. Yes, you could have a Wild Kraken first round. I am not concerned about Seattle falling out of the playoff picture. They may not have to play like the Kings or the Golden Knights. They may have to play the Golden Knights or the Wild or maybe the Avs or them from Texas. I don't know at this point. There's so much up in the air.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's to the original point. The East is the safer choice, but the Stanley Cup playoffs tends to be the most throw everything up in the air. Who the bleep knows what's going to happen?
So would you say the Stanley Cup playoffs are if we had to rank your favorite playoffs, would they be number 1? Just because of the uncertainty and all that?
See, I don't like that only in that Cinderella tends to happen almost all the time, which means it's not Cinderella. I don't like the notion that you go through a whole regular season, perform really well, and then go kaput, and then we have these, where did this team come from again? And I'm a big entertainment storyline person, like good storylines, like follow the season along kind of thing. And so when a team just gets hot at the very end, I'm like, so why did we do the regular season again? It seems a little pointless. However, the quality of play really makes up for that. So in that regard, and the pressure at the end of the games, tie games, going into overtime. I mean, of course, that's why Stanley Cup's pretty much the best. If I'm ranking the 4, where are we at right? I'm trying to think where we're at right now based on how stuff has evolved around. Like the play-in tournament actually turned out, small sample size, it turned out pretty good for the NBA. I think that actually the NFL is a little worse having more teams involved because you sometimes can have those blowout games early on, and we don't need more blowouts in the playoffs. Baseball is still a little to be determined. I'm not really sure. I think I would, in terms of sheer uncertainty, the NHL is number 1. I think, the cream tends to rise to the top in the NFL. For all the parity stuff, you do tend to get a lot of the expected teams doing well. Playoff pedigree really does matter in the NFL. I think baseball tends to be the next most I don't know. Then the NFL, and then the NBA. I guess the last year or so, it got a little weird, but the NBA tends to be the most chalkish. Yeah, of all of them. But in terms of what I most, what's your list? I'm kind of stalling, but what's your list of your 4 most exciting?
Are we just going to? We're not counting March Madness, right?
Correct, because then that's number 1 because it's March Madness.
So we'll do the 4 pro leagues. I'm gonna go baseball 1. Part of it too for me is the environment. I don't know. I think they do if you haven't been to a playoff baseball game, it's freaking awesome. I think one of the best experiences ever. I think you've been to one for Twins, right?
I've never been to a Twins playoff game.
Okay.
Been to lots of Twins games, never a playoff
game. And then I think that just on TV, you can everybody's on pins and needles for every single inning, I think. And I'm curious to see how that affects now with the increase in time of play. It's shortening it. So it's always kind of, because I was saying this the other day, not to get off on a complete tangent, but with this shorter or this quicker pace of play, Baseball for me was always like, all right, it's more of a casual, relaxed sort of thing. I can get up whenever and, walk around and go get a beer or something like that. Whereas football and basketball, I'm not getting up and moving unless it's like end of quarter, halftime or something like that. Baseball now, it's like quicker. You almost have to you got to be focused the whole time because things are going to happen quicker. So I'm curious to see how that changes that dynamic. I'll go baseball 1. I'll go hockey 2, football 3, and then NBA 4.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say NBA 4 for me. I mean, the thing with the NFL is if you get a blowout game, then it's done for that round.
Like wild card weekend, I don't know. Everybody says, or I think the majority say that's their favorite. Divisional round for me is the best.
I hear more divisional round. Yeah. I think the wild cards got more attention of late because there are more games, especially when we had the 6 in the Saturday, Sunday time frame a couple years ago, which I think was the best. Now that they've
but the Monday night thing now sucks.
Yeah, well, that's going to continue going because you got to give Buck and Aikman a roll. So
yeah,
and that's not a Buck and Aikman rip because they're actually pretty good, but that's why it's happening in large part. I think I'll put the NFL 3rd. I think I'll put the Stanley Cup 2nd.
So you're the same exact as me.
Yeah, basically. And Major League Baseball is tops. And some of that's also still nostalgia leading up to the World Series and all that. Well, and now I'm with those rules. Does that lead to more energy? We're not, again, as I like to say, every pitch is the bottom of the 9th, game 7, bases loaded, 3-2 count.
Well, now it's going to be interesting when you get 3-2 bottom of the 9th World Series. You don't have time to compose yourself anymore.
No. But that's how a lot of those games would end. Like you
Can you imagine if the World Series ended on a shot clock violation, essentially? Kind of like the Atlanta game that was a tie in spring training, but can't have a tie in the World Series. So.
Yeah, right. I mean,
walked in the winning run because of a shot clock violation.
That would be something.
Wow, there would be so much flack.
There would, and that's where I wonder if it would be kind of like it's like a variation of those college football rules that were proposed yesterday that are probably going to take effect. That you get rid of stopping the clock on first down, except in the last 2 minutes. And I wonder if in baseball, if that happens, highly doubtful, but if it does, would they say like for the 9th inning, for example, or the 8th and 9th inning to make it fair for both teams, that the clock is shut off for those two? And I don't know in a deciding in like one of the deciding series or whatever, or maybe it's the playoffs writ large. And I don't know that that's the worst thing in the world. At that point, there you're actually getting to the meaningful pitch. It's not the 4th inning of a game in August that's taking forever because this pitch is going to mean everything, all caps. No, these pitches actually do mean everything. This is the difference between your season ending and potentially winning a championship. Maybe that comes around, and as strong of an advocate as I've been for all of this, and I'm loving the numbers that I'm seeing thus far.
So you like the increase,
yes,
or the pace of play?
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, did you see how long that Brewers game lasted yesterday?
How long was it?
2 hours and 11 minutes.
Sweet. Good. Now, caveat on all of this, it's early. Now, I don't think there's any strong reason to think it's going to flip back the other way. You know how I hate it's like overreaction to one small sample, and this is the way it's going to be. The worst example was after that Braves Red Sox, the tie game, and then Instagram. I went on to ESPN's Instagram post and all these, "You're ruining baseball." Well, thankfully, most of the replies to those were all like, A, spring training, B, you want slow games still, et cetera, et cetera. But there was a massive overreaction to that. I mean, it made a good point that this potentially could happen, but it's a small sample. All of this is a small sample size. Let's see what happens. The season goes along. Teams are going to start to figure out strategies to kind of game the system a bit. Now, I don't think they're going to figure out ways that game it enough to buy themselves more time that suddenly we're back to 3-hour, 15-minute games just out of strategy. There's no. But some teams will figure that out. Now, baseball may then turn back around and go, okay, well, if you're going to do this, then we're going to put this in place. There'll be a back and forth potentially. It'll be subtle, but that could happen. All in all, though, I like it. I want a more free-flowing game. I haven't been able to watch too much because a lot of spring training games aren't on national TV. I saw a little bit of the ESPN broadcast Monday afternoon. I just tuned in for a little bit. And, I mean, I didn't notice anything where I went, whoa, wow, that was fast. I was only watching, like, 2 batters. But it moved along. Pitch clocks on the screen. That didn't really bother me too much. It felt like they were, at least at that point, everyone was in a good rhythm. So I'll take it. That's good. A quicker game is fine because that's how it used to be for a long, long, long time, and everyone was fine with it. And it's just the batters and pitchers found ways to drag it out, and there's no real good reason to do so. So now we're getting back to how baseball was for the majority of its time.
Right.
I like it.
All right, we gotta take a quick break here. So we're gonna do a little sports vigilante. The topic: how do we get rid of Dan Snyder?
Oh no,
we got some. I don't know if you saw the latest ones, but some weird, just crazy stuff. The sports world out there, we're going. I don't know if you saw the latest one, but it was like the loan the other day we talked about. But now, according to reports from the Washington Post, he allegedly was charging his own franchise $10 million a year to use his own private jet, as well as an additional $4.5 million to put his own team's logo on his personal plane. Team that he owns. Money. So, as some other minority team owners said that he was using the franchise as a, quote, personal piggy petition filed with the league per ESPN. So Snyder allegedly took the minority owners and receiving their approval, which is critical because it came 16 months before was reportedly been a key area. And there was that rumor report that which pissed off the other owners too. So here we are. And then he's trying to, is he not trying to get Jeff Bezos to buy it?
Well, Bezos looks like the most likely. So like,
step it. Can he do anything? Can he do an Adam Silver?
Can he trade, like do Freaky Friday and trade commissioner jobs for a day so Adam Silver can step in and actually do the job?
Is Adam Silver the best commissioner in all sports right now?
Yes.
Okay.
And that might be what it takes to actually do that, because apparently Goodell, as frustrated as he by many accounts is with Snyder, won't do it. He won't get rid of him. Seems to be finding ways, maybe it's out of necessity, to protect him. That was one of the takeaways from the loan story the other day, that the minority owners, Pash from the front office of the NFL, were trying to help out Snyder more than
the PR guy Pash, Jeffrey Pash, I think is his name.
Do we need to arrest him? Do we need to extradite him to Albania or something? Like what? Like we need to do like extreme stuff here. Like I think we're almost at the point where we need to have like the Marvel Cinematic Universe step in.
Yeah,
because nothing else is working. Like, how is this happening? And again, I've talked about this before. Every so often, there'll be the sports thing that gets you really annoyed that really has nothing to do with any of your own interests. And for me, one of them has been the ownership of that team. Like, I really should not care about the Washington Redskins / football team / Commanders / whatever. Yet, there are plenty. I mean, Washington get back to like the glory days of the 80s and Riggins and Theismann and Gibbs. And that's not it. I mean, that'd be cool, the nostalgia bias. It's just at a certain point you're like, Dan Snyder, why is he getting away with stuff? That's what's more annoying, that he's screwing stuff up and keeps coming out on top. It's like I don't really want to say he's failing up, because it's not like his position's getting better, but he seems Teflon, which that gets really, really frustrating.
I think there has to be. Was it a few months ago when Jim Irsay was talking about it? There has to be was it like 24 of the owners have to vote to oust him? Is that what the number is?
Yeah.
I think. So I mean, they could put it to a vote, couldn't they?
You could
to oust him,
but then, and the reason why, the big reason why he's not already been ousted is because precedent setting.
Yeah.
Because the owners are scared that if they do that, and something comes out of the woodwork, not just Dan Snyder's private investigators bringing out stuff, but there's probably a lot of other varying levels of unseemliness. It's not like we got 31 corrupt owners and apparently several hundreds of thousand corrupt Green Bay Packer fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But not to that degree, but there's stuff that the owners have done that would be controversial if it got out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're afraid.
Because I'm sure who do you think would be the next one that would be afraid? The first one I thought of was the dude in Miami.
Stephen Ross would be in trouble. I think Jerry Jones.
Ooh, you think? Oh, that's like taking down the power man.
And I think there's
or maybe the McNairs in Houston.
Possibly. I'll bet there's probably an owner we don't really know about. It's more of an anonymous owner.
I know they got annoyed with Stan Kroenke, but he got the team in LA, so I don't know if they would do anything there. So
then again, they're really annoyed by him asking them to pay his legal bills.
Right. Yeah.
So actually, maybe they would. They might be like, well, you know what? We got the stadium.
Yeah. Now we don't need you anymore. So
yeah, it's not like it's not like Kroenke's just going to be like, hey, I'm going to uproot them and move them to Vancouver.
You know what would be really funny, though? Because anybody who has bought in a Packers stock, if you look at the lines in some of that, I don't know if you've bought one.
I've not.
Okay. There are lines in there that says that you can't criticize Roger Goodell. You can't, do anything on unbecoming of an owner.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Like, you can't, there's lines in there that they try to make it, good luck trying to track down hundreds of thousands of Packers owners who, aren't, doing things to be unbecoming of an owner.
Funny. I've noticed you've never been a hardcore critic of Roger Goodell on this show.
Yeah, exactly. He's my buddy.
He probably dap you like he does with all the draft picks.
Yep.
Okay, that explains a lot.
Yep.
Wow, that's a random note I would not have ever figured. But I guess if you're an owner, you're part of the. I so wish someone who owned Packer stock tried to show up at an owners meeting.
I should try to dig out my that letter that I got on there too and see what it actually says on there. But there is a way that they can take your ownership away. I'm like, good luck. Good luck trying to track down everybody on that.
The thing is, someone like Dan Snyder, if he were in a position to do that, be like a commissioner, he'd probably do something like, remember and this is not to rip on Metallica, but remember when they were trying to, or not Metallica, remember the record labels were trying to sue people that were someone's grandma for illegally downloading stuff and went all in
the Napster
on them.
thing, yeah.
And they'd probably try to do that, find a social media post from someone and then revoke their Packers share or something to prove a point. Something stupid like that. Goodell's never going to do that. I don't know. Goodell wants Snyder gone, but he also doesn't want Snyder gone because of all the precedent. And he's representing all the owners, and they're annoyed by him, but they also are worried about the precedent of what it could mean to them, and could they lose their ownership? Well, for one, I find it a little hard to believe that any of them have as bad of a track record as Dan Snyder apparently has. I mean, if anyone else is that bad based on sexual harassment claims and loan claims and all sorts of other really scummy, potentially really illegal stuff, wow, I don't even want to follow the NFL if the owners are that bad. I don't think they are, but that's the whole precedent thing. Really, are y'all that bad? I don't think you have that much to worry about.
When it first came out that he was taking money from other owners, I thought that was going to be the start of the nail in the coffin, and yet here we are. He's still, doing his thing.
Because he's, again, I keep coming back to it. It's precedent. It's precedent. It's precedent.
Well, you know what? Adam Silver broke precedent, and everybody loves him right now.
Well, and he was concerned about a different precedent that could put into place. Mm-hmm. Players being all right, we're not going to play for this team anymore, and they had the influence to do it. That would have blown up the league even bigger. When you cannot actually have your sport play, then your evaluations go down. That was a bigger deal. By most accounts, the 53-man roster for the Washington Commanders have not talked about not playing. Okay. Well, I mean, if they're going to go out there on Sunday, cool. I mean, there are other indications of why this team has gotten worse off. Fewer fans of the actual home team, and a seeming inability to get a new stadium, which owners love. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. I would think that would rise above the whole we're worried about being kicked out by the other owners sorts of thing, because there's so many other things that they're losing out because of this.
Right.
The valuations that would come from Washington being owned by someone else. This is a tough one. Everyone keeps thinking of what's the way to get rid of Dan Snyder.
So let me flip it. How can we get rid of Jimmy Haslam from the Milwaukee Bucks now?
Well, doesn't it technically have to be approved?
Do you think the Bucks owners will Wes Edens is even paying attention to any of that? Well, I guess it's got to be approved by the NBA.
It does.
Yeah.
I think that could happen now. I'm not inclined to think so. That was my first thought, that Adam Silver's going to step in here and try to avoid that. I don't know.
I don't know if he will, because it's not a full-on ownership.
No, minority ownership.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be that governor at some point, during his term.
I think he takes over immediately.
Oh, I think you're right.
Because I saw Paul Henning. Paul Henning was tweeting that the other day. He said, well, wait a minute. Lazarus still, or would be still in charge for another year and a half. So that means Jim Haslam would be making the decisions for the Bucks for this offseason.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah. Ready for some
You
Cleveland Brown style F-ups?
Yeah.
Because it's coming around. And that's where I wonder a little bit about, like, wait, this kind of, like, there was the talk of, they're discussing from a couple weeks ago or so. And then all of a sudden, like,
Please, Bucks, win your championship this year, because it's going to go downhill after that. Because
who are we going to... Which really so-so player? Julius Randle, we're going to give him like $90 million a year. Woo!
I really hope Haslam doesn't get involved in front office stuff. John Horst has done a fantastic job. He doesn't need Haslam in there.
And my understanding is Haslam is a fairly hands-on owner, so actually he probably would. I'm sure he's champing at the bit to get involved in, like, who can we sign this offseason? Who can we give, like, way, at one point, it's like, cool, an owner that's willing to spend. But at the other point, it's like, look at his history, though, too. Oh, Lord. Now, and one other thing to point out here, too, the Haslams own the Columbus Crew, who won the MLS Cup a couple years ago, and they did save the franchise from being moved to Austin. Like, they're not scum on earth. As much as I am, like 100% no, get the Haslams out. They're also not Dan Snyder. Like, they've got ethical issues. They're not Dan Snyder. I mean, I suppose Dan Snyder really skews everything.
Yeah.
It could actually be worse. And I also wonder if there's a certain culture around the Browns, because it seems like no matter who they bring in, it doesn't go well. And this precedes the Haslams too. There's something else is going on there. I mean, not that you could put your finger on it. That's a whole nother vigilante thing. How do you fix the Browns? They actually had a decent record last year, but there's just something with that franchise. I don't know. Anyway, so getting rid of Dan Snyder, I hate to say it, I think he needs to be charged with a crime.
Probably.
That's it. You don't want a potential criminal as an NFL owner.
Yeah.
It has to get to that point, because we're still waiting. One of Andrew Brandt's oft-cited things is the whole, like, the report is sitting in a drawer somewhere. I mean, it's a figure of speech, but that's what's happening. The controversial internal report from the NFL on all the sexual harassment and never been released because we're protecting the victims who are openly talking about it.
Right.
So that's not the thing that's going to do it. Just being just going to say a word I'm not sure that I can say on the radio, but just being a jerk, very mild way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to do it. Then again, being a jerk shouldn't be reason, as much as we don't like people for being that way. That's not a reason to kick you out as an owner, but it's part of the whole picture there.
Right.
I wonder if these investigations, this lone investigation, and it's not going to be a congressional thing, and well, definitely not now that got shut down, because now people in control are like, no, let's not investigate Snyder. But I think that has to do with which party does he? Then it gets into if you're in with one party or another. I'm not ripping on one political party or the other, but you know how that goes. If you're friends with one, then you tend to skate by. We see that all the time with people in positions of power, and it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. So Congress isn't going to do it.
Yep.
Even if the other party took over, it's not good. This has to be like a district attorney somewhere has to file a lawsuit saying criminal activity occurred. That is the thing that's going to get Dan Snyder out, at least in a shorter term form. Outside of there being a really, really good offer that probably does not involve Jeff Bezos. Let's be real.
Right. Really quick here. So some of the bylaws that I found for the Packers, NFL rules prohibit any shareholder of the NFL club to do anything detrimental to the league. Detrimental acts in the rules include owning a financial interest in any other NFL club or other professional football organization, acting as an agent for an NFL player, or publicly criticizing any NFL team, employee, or football official. We all are probably now, violation of that one. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell also has the ability to fine any shareholder for an NFL team. Goodell can fine a shareholder up to $500,000 for detrimental conduct. Shareholders can also be fined $5,000 for betting on an NFL game.
Kick them all out. All of them.
Just you telling me no Packers fan out there is like doing DraftKings or FanDuel or anything like that?
Not a one. They all have to go.
None of them have criticized an NFL official. Yeah. Okay.
And we could have a trade, and the Haslams can buy all the shares, and the Haslams will
well,
trade.
they're
off
only
the Browns.
allowed to buy a certain amount. What is it? There's a certain amount. They can't buy all of them. So there's a max. No one is allowed to hold more than 200,000 shares, which represents approximately 4%.
Is there a way, though, that you could like buy shares and then like merge them into one and then kind of stair-step your way into owning the entire team and then moving them to Albuquerque?
I guess maybe if you have like family members that could purchase up to 200,000 each.
Hey, there are a lot of Haslams. I'm just saying.
Just, like if you do it that way, I guess maybe.
I'm just saying. But, I mean, the Haslams could sell off the Browns and parlay their clear new Wisconsin fan base. I'm actually surprised we haven't had like mass booing probably because the Haslams were at a game recently, or at least Jimmy Haslam was at a game recently, but probably no one knew what was going on at that point because this was happening so fast. I half expect him to show up at a game somewhere and get like booed mercilessly.
Oh, he will.
Yeah,
he will.
Lasry's also probably not exactly the most popular family left right now. Really, I know that the easy way to say it is, oh, your son lost the Senate race, so now you're leaving. I mean, it's not that. I think it is more to do with Mark Lasry doesn't want to go to the luxury tax thing, and he doesn't also want to be 5 years out as governor of the team. So there's some other reasons,
right?
And apparently he doesn't get along as well with Wes Edens. So they're extenuating circumstances.
Well, maybe if Aaron is gonna have a good relationship with that daughter, maybe he can needle his way into the
I mean, here I can't believe I'm
allegedly
saying this. I want Aaron Rodgers
allegedly
better than the Haslams.
Yeah. Just a few minutes to the top. So we will do stock reports coming up in the next hour before we do a little showdown there. So hold on to your stock reports. If you haven't sent on any over, you can do so right now. 715-830-1912. Bucks picking up their 15th straight win last night in I guess you could say a little come from behind. They were down at half against the new look Brooklyn Nets, thanks to a dominant second half by the Bucks, and another stellar performance from Giannis, who is back in the lineup. 15 wins in a row. They've got a pretty darn good chance to make it 16 wins in a row tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. I'm looking forward to Saturday's game against Philly in Milwaukee there. That should be a good one.
How excited are you for Joel Embiid and Giannis to take the game off because load management?
Well, no.
Probably not Giannis, but
I don't know. That's a big Eastern Conference game, so they might not be able to afford. This is the last full month of the regular season now. So
yeah, that would be one where I think Adam Silver would be like, no, you are not doing that on one of these broadcasts.
Right. Yep.
Greatest Drew Holiday has actually been in absence of like when Giannis has not been taking games. When he's out, he's actually been injured
right
of late, but Drew's been performing pretty well in absentia.
Who's a deeper team, Boston or Milwaukee?
Good question. I think Boston. I think. I want to see some of these new acquisitions tested in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I'm punting on it a little bit, but I think the Celtics are a touch team.
Would you say it's easily these top two teams though, yes, for depth wise?
Yes. Yeah. It's the Celtics and the Bucks are the cream of the conference, and I mean the Sixers are good, but I am really expecting to see a Boston-Milwaukee Eastern Conference Finals, and I hope it is an all-timer, and I hope it goes 7 games, and I hope I really enjoy watching every.
It sure seems like it's going to go. Like I feel like we talk about is there going to be a big difference between 1 and 2? I wonder if there. You look at the home records for both these teams, Milwaukee and Boston. If it comes down to the Eastern Conference Finals between those two, I think the tipping point is going to be who has home court advantage. Milwaukee's 26-5, Boston's 24-7.
And I don't entirely know how much it may make a difference if Milwaukee goes to Boston. I've talked about it before, where Bill Simmons was talking about how in the semifinals last year, where they felt relieved to have gotten past Giannis, Celtics fans.
Yeah.
They were scared of him. And like, it was respectful scared.
Right. Yep.
And they probably figure, oh gosh, he could probably come into the Garden and beat him.
Mm-hmm.
But it will help because Boston has a legit home court advantage. Those folks go nuts.
Mm-hmm. There's just some really weird, and I get you're supposed to be better at home, but there are some big discrepancies among these home and away records for a lot of teams. Like Denver's the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They're 28-4. That's the best home record, but they're 16-15 on the road. The number 2 seeded Memphis Grizzlies, 26-5 at home, 11-18 on the road.
Yeah.
Like they're
a bad road. I mean, yeah, I know the record, but they've been known as a bad road team.
Right. And you look at Golden State is just even worse. Golden State's the 5 seed in the West right now, 25-7 at home, 7-23 on the road.
Jeez.
But it's like you got similar numbers like Cleveland, 26-7 at home, 4 seed in the East, 13-18 on the road, below 500.
I mean, it does make you wonder if this is going to be one of those years where actually the seeding does matter. We were talking about that earlier about how you go, like, and again, I did say the NBA is the chalkiest of all of them, but I wonder if this year especially the seeds are going to kind of dictate who advances.
Like, I feel like there's a legit 3, maybe 4 title contenders. Milwaukee, Boston, Denver, maybe Philly. I want to see Phoenix with KD.
Yeah,
I want to see how that works.
I think Memphis can be, but those road splits
road ones are not good. Yeah, the Phoenix one is the outlier in there because we haven't seen KD yet. So, all right, we got 1 more hour to go. Let's kick it off with some stock reports after these news updates. Okay, we go third hour on this Making the Turn Wednesday. We got lots to kind of catch up on here in this final hour, just based off the last few minutes here. Because, well, better people than me, Luke, have listened to this podcast with Rogers and Aubrey Marcus.
We listened to it so you don't have to.
I didn't listen to it. They did, so you don't have to. I will transcribe what others have transcribed. So how about that? Or I will say what others have transcribed. So, yeah.
What did he say?
So the podcast dropped, I guess. I'm not going to listen to it. But here's what he said for the stuff that people only care about. It's best for anybody who has an interest in this to make a decision sooner rather than later. I remember before Favre retired, there were times in April and May we weren't sure if he was going to come back because he didn't come to any of the offseason programs. Then in 2008, he actually did retire in March and then said, no, in June after OTAs. I actually want to come back and play. That's when he was traded to the Jets. There was obviously a lot of tension that summer for everybody involved directly and indirectly. It's best for a decision earlier. I feel really good about the conversations that are going to be had, that have been had with important people in my life, yourself included. But I'm not looking for somebody to tell me what the answer is. All the answers are right inside me. I touched many of the feeling on both sides in darkness. I'm thankful for that time. There's a finality to the decision. I don't make it lightly. I don't want to drag anybody around. I'm answering questions about it because I got asked about it. I'm talking about it because it's important to me. If you don't like it and you think it's drama and you think I'm being a diva or whatever, then just tune it out. That's fine. But this is my life. It's important to me. I'll make a decision soon enough and we'll go down that road. I'll be really excited about it. For what it's worth, one of the Jets writers for The Athletic was one of those listening to it. And he said that to him, it sounded like a player who's not going to retire. So,
okay,
for whatever it's worth. So,
oh, great. Just make it stop.
But he is right, though.
He is.
Because I was telling somebody this the other day, how quickly we forget how long it took Favre. Yeah. How many years in that. I think what makes this more annoying is because of the social media.
Yes, and we have the Pat McAfee Show, not a rip on Pat McAfee, but we have the Pat McAfee Show with Aaron Rodgers as your regular Tuesday guest. So there's always content coming out.
Right.
This podcast, also that we're referencing right now, all of that, and then like you said, social media and part of it's not just people posting on social media; it's the way that the clips go out via social media.
Right.
Here's Bart Scott's take.
Right.
Who the bleep cares about Bart Scott? That's not a rip on Bart Scott.
Or Brandon Marshall last night. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see that, but
yeah, he said that Aaron he should retire. That because if he's contemplating it, I'm kind of paraphrasing. If he's contemplating it and all that, he should retire.
So now, what's your take on their take?
Yeah.
Oh, right. This would be a bigger deal if this environment were in place in 2006, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest differences. Twitter was in its infancy. Facebook was just getting going. Also, the whole embrace debate thing, while that was picking up at ESPN, and hadn't gotten to the point now of everyone has to have a hot take. And then it gets pushed across the platforms for the entire day.
Yep.
Just I can't anymore. And this is not me as a Viking. No, I can't. I until something happens, I can't anymore.
Right.
I just
all right. So let's do some stock reports.
Yay, thank you.
All right. I'll start it off with stock risers.
Aaron Rodgers and the podcasts?
Not Aaron Rodgers, but I'm going Green Bay.
Okay.
Because as we mentioned in the first hour, they converted some money on Kenny Clark's contract, restructured it, creating a little over $11 million in cap space. They now have $17 million in available cap space, and that is still without the David Bakhtiari restructure that Brian Gutekunst said yesterday that they're working on, and that is still without we're assuming a contract for Rashawn Gary that will lower his cap hit for this year, which is close to $11 million. And that is without the Aaron Rodgers contract. So if you put it into kind of rankings according to over the cap, the Packers would just be outside the top 10 in available cap space for this year.
Wow. So they'll have a lot of space to sign a third-tier tight end in early April.
Exactly. So, but
no, really, that is, I mean, okay, now how much of this is pushing back?
Well, so the Kenny Clark one, that's pushing it. That's putting more on the credit card, if you will.
Okay.
The Aaron Jones one was a salary cut. I'll be curious to see what the David Bakhtiari one is. That to me is going to be the fascinating one, because will it be a salary cut like Aaron Jones? Is it pushing more money back? Because then that could potentially mean that they think Bakhtiari is going to be around for a couple more years, whereas they could have just moved on from him after this year and created $20 million available in cap space after this year.
And they don't seem to be a loyalist sort of organization right now.
Right. And so by doing that and opening up all this cap space, this doesn't seem like a team that's got the rebuild mindset. Going back to what Aaron said at the end of the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be around for a rebuild. I don't get the sense for some of these, because really, if they thought they were rebuilding, they could be like, hey, Aaron, this is what we're going to do. If you want to play, it's going to have to be somewhere else, but we're going to take all of our cap hits this year and kind of reset next year. They could have done that.
Are they putting themselves in position that when the inevitable happens and Aaron Rodgers is done, that Jordan Love or whomever takes over, and then they're like deep into a rebuild because they're in salary cap? Hell, it doesn't sound like they're to that point, but
the interesting thing is that Jordan Love, they're going to have to decide on that fifth-year option, which is going to come with a big cap hit.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't take advantage of the cheap contract hit like a lot of these other teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, to me, part of me was like, when this whole thing started, would you just take your lumps now and take all those hits, this year and get it out of the way? So then when it comes time for that fifth-year option for Jordan Love or whatever, you have a little bit more cap space because you're not putting more on the credit card.
Right. Ugh. That's a tougher long-term thing. But if you're talking about being competitive this upcoming season,
yep,
they're getting themselves at least into the discussion.
That's where I'm going with my stock up, is because I feel like they don't view this as a rebuild year, so they're not, quote, tanking or just taking their lump. Like, for example, it would be like New England the first year with Mac Jones, because they had to take on all that cap hit from Tom Brady, right? They took it. What'd they do the following year? They signed a bunch of free agents. Now you can say, well, it didn't work. They made the postseason that year, but last year, obviously. But you've seen teams do that.
Mm-hmm.
Philly is another good example, right? Last year, they took on all that cap hit from the Carson Wentz thing. What'd they do? They opened up cap space this year to get A.J. Brown and all that, and they went to the Super Bowl.
And they were already kind of in position. If they were that infamous 7th seed that got blown out in the playoffs. But the point was they qualified based on the rules, and they were in position to leapfrog, and man, did they ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, and again, this upcoming season, okay, they're not going in as, I think, prohibitive favorites like they were this past season. It's weird to say in retrospect, but I think they were. But I don't know that you have to be a prohibitive. I think you can be kind of in the discussion based on the NFC this year.
And I think the NFC North and the NFC East are the two best divisions in the NFC right now.
Yeah, Philadelphia is probably going to, they'll regress some.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dallas will be competitive. Giants are probably improving. Even Washington, I don't think is going to be bad.
Then Lions, Minnesota. We'll see what happens with Green Bay.
Yeah, Vikings.
Chicago's going to have a crap ton of cap space.
Right,
but
Vikings, their record's going to regress, but they might actually be better in some other parts of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Lions definitely are on the upswing. I think they could be they're going to be the hot pick to win the division.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real.
Oh, yeah.
And the Bears, I think, are going to be better, especially if they get someone like a Jalen Carter in the draft. How excited are you for Jalen Carter to be on the opposite side, on the other side of the line?
Well, I mean, they also got to protect their quarterback too, so they got to figure that out.
There's that too, but that's probably where they're going with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a scary proposition.
The Bears situation, I said it the other day, is a general manager's dream, I think, for an offseason. You have nearly $100 million available in cap space. You already have your quarterback. You have the first overall pick, but you don't need to draft that quarterback, so you can sell it for more stuff, more shiny stuff, right?
Mhm.
This has got to be a general manager's dream offseason, for a rebuilding team.
Yeah.
To have that amount of money, to have your quarterback, and you're going to have a bidding war for the first overall pick that you don't need to draft that quarterback. And the guy that you might draft, you might be able to move down a couple spots and still get.
Right. It's a great position to be. I mean, of course, there's always that risk that some other team zips up to get like Carter or Anderson. But I think most teams are going to try to be desperate to move up to get Will Levis or CJ Stroud or someone like that, Bryce Young. So the Bears are to be envied right now. But all of that means the Packers are not that far off from winning the division. And at the very least, they can still put together a postseason run, even if it involves a lot of road games.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, means fewer games with Lambeau, which apparently is a good thing to avoid Lambeau in the playoffs. I don't know why, but apparently so nowadays. The point that they are in an okay spot right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My stock riser, Shaka Smart.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah,
I mean, yeah. Marquette's highest ranking since the 70s.
That was our trivia question yesterday.
Yeah. I don't know how much higher they can get. And again, this was the final poll really of the regular season as it is. So now it's really more about bracketology positioning, but they're going to get a good seed. Is it possible? Have we started to comprehend the notion of Marquette winning a national championship with the Badgers still going back to 1941 or is it 1941 when they won the NCAA? Back when the NCAA championship was considered second tier.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready for Marquette being the clearly superior men's basketball program? And considering Shaka Smart's in his home state, I'm saying his stock is going up, but I don't think that necessarily then translates to off to Duke.
I don't.
I think could Marquette be turning into the next Gonzaga?
Well, the other thing I'm wondering too, if this is sustained success for Marquette too, for all the Badger fans that want Chris McIntosh to pull another, football thing like with the basketball program, does the success of Marquette push that a little bit more?
I think it does.
I do too.
There is again, we don't experience it much up here because there are not that many Marquette fans up here. Shout out Bob Gallagher. But otherwise, we don't really get the Marquette-Wisconsin rivalry. It is I've seen it from those who are involved with it. It is intense. And I am sure there are plenty of Badger
right, because
fans.
I could cheer for both and I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, I'm good with both.
Yeah.
I'm my number one favorite team, but I'm okay with both. I don't view one as a rival of the other, but I don't have a connection to one of the universities.
No. Yeah.
And it'd be stupid of me to say oh yeah, good to go down and root for both. Oh, I would get so many side eyes down there. No. McIntosh has to know that. And Marquette's not going to go by the Wisconsin way of getting players. They're going to get players. And not saying they're doing it unethically, but Wisconsin has a particular method that Marquette doesn't. I mean, Marquette's we're going to go out and get the best players. Mm-hmm. Basically another college basketball program. And what do you know? They're number 6 in the country this year. Will they be next year? I don't know, but they're in contention now.
And this is the year that anything can happen. Look at these freaking teams that are at the top. I will tell you right now, I have no idea who I'm picking for my national champion.
There's a lot of churn. There are teams that are probably around 15. You could probably make a case.
Yeah. Because who's playing really well right now?
Well,
freaking Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it's yeah.
Well, in SV Pod the other day, they had Stanford Steve go through which teams can win. He was going to reveal his 20 teams that actually can win the championship. And once he and Scott Van Pelt went through the list, he ended up with 25.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many that you can make a case to win the national champ. And by the way, those guys, they watch all the games, so they would know. There are a lot of teams that have a lot of potential, and there's not a runaway. This is not the Gonzaga Baylor season from 2 years ago. This year. I know Houston's been in the top 5. Alabama's been up near the top. Purdue's been up near the top. Tennessee's kind of been in that zone for a lot of the season. But I don't know which one I'm going with.
Yeah, I don't know. Either,
I don't know if it's any of those, and I don't know if it's Marquette. But maybe it is. And props to Shaka Smart for pulling it off here.
I'm not a Dookie, but, since we're talking college, because we assume that, like, Duke had a down year this year, right? Because you don't hear about them. They're not up in the rankings, right?
Yeah.
But John Shire did something no other ACC coach did. Went undefeated at home. Coach K never went undefeated at home.
Wow.
15-0 this season at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Then again, how did he do on the road?
Yeah. Well, they're, I think, 22-8 overall. So, yeah.
So that'd be what?
Like 7-8.
Yeah. So, again, home road splits. But, yes, I mean, hey.
22-8 your first year replacing Coach K.
Yeah. That's still a good thing. I mean, it's not going to – they're not hanging banners for that.
No.
Obviously. But, no, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, give some of these programs a little bit of time. I don't know that all of the teams that are replayed, like Villanova and UNC and Duke, and they've had down years this year. I don't know that they're all going to turn around. I mean, there may be some fallow years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think especially Duke, they'll get back to this at some point.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, look at North Carolina, how far they've fallen. And now they're playing a little bit better now as of late, too. So,
yeah.
But, we'll see. It's going to be crazy March Madness, and I'm up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick, though, do you think Greg Gard's still coach in 2 years, over under?
I'm going to take the under. I can't at the McIntosh move to replace Gard midseason and then decide to bring in Luke Fickell. That told me a lot of where the program's going.
Mm-hmm.
And
athletic department, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the Badgers don't pull off a really good year soon, as much as I think guards seem to be, and because we like him as a person, he is a good coach. He is a good recruiter just in a general sense, but is he good enough to compete with the best? And if that doesn't happen in the next 2 years, I think he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say that. I think he's going to be gone.
I kind of agree with you.
Based on what I'm seeing from the rest of the university.
Yeah.
If this were still Barry Alvarez, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because we were all wondering if because we all thought Barry Alvarez didn't want Greg Gard. Who was the guy that he wanted? I'm trying to remember from when.
Well, everybody wanted Tony Bennett.
Yeah, that was it. It was the whole, and then Gard wasn't given the.
Well, then there was the Shaka Smart talk too, because he is from Madison. So,
yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, there was that, Bo Ryan did that to force his way.
Yeah.
Sort of thing on there. But yeah, okay. Let's go with what do we got? Stocks down.
Yeah, who's
right now?
Falling?
Well, my stock's down. I'm gonna go Lakers right now because there was that talk like, hey, don't want to play this team coming into the postseason. If they get in the postseason, you don't want to play that. Well, now LeBron James is going to be out for like a long time, it looks like. So Lakers going down. Going down fast. And
the funny thing is, I think if they get down to the lottery, they don't have their first round pick either.
Yeah.
They're not in the best of shape. I'm going with the college basketball team from the place the Lakers used to play, Golden Gopher men's basketball.
Yeah, they stink.
They suck. They're losing streaks, up to 13 now, I think?
But you know what? They could knock Wisconsin out of the tournament.
They totally could. And it's going to be a home game. Now, I'm not sure if the Gophers are good enough to do that. But here's the more concerning thing. Besides having one of the worst losing streaks the program's ever had, and this is a long-lasting program, Dennis Evans, top recruit. I think it was top 15 centers and top 25, top 30 overall next year, just asked out of his commitment just the other day for next year. And it wasn't an NIL thing. It wasn't like he was just like, no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So that basically blew a hole in their recruiting for the next couple years. They're already struggling. They've basically turned over most of the team for 2 years straight. Now, I don't know that they're going to have another transfer portal nightmare this season. I think they might actually keep some of their players. And I actually do think they'll be a better team next year because a lot of it is experience. Even though by NCAA Division I standards, they're not that talented. I think they will be somewhat better next year, provided, again, they don't lose 8 players to the portal again. But losing Dennis Evans, who would have been a really good player in the middle. All right, this late in the game, now what? That it throws off everything. And I mean, I've said this before in the show. I think in the next few years, I think St. Thomas is going to be the better D1 program over there. Yeah. I mean, we could see a case where Marquette and St. Thomas are better than Wisconsin and Minnesota in the next 3-4 years. I don't know that that's the hottest take to make. And I know the U of M does not want to play the Tommies. They're afraid that if they played each other and
they lose, and it's
yes. Like, yeah. And what are the implications of that? I think part of it, is Williams Arena is a liability at this point. Mm-hmm. I really hate saying that, but
you're not one of those that still likes the barn.
So, I like it. Like, I want it to be used in perpetuity. On the other hand, I get it. I think like the atmosphere is great when they're playing well. When it's not, then it's a really old facility that just like what? Why are we still here? Everyone else moved on from their places a long time ago. So there's a lot that's going on with both basketball programs are in bad shape right now, but they're sliding towards irrelevancy.
Yeah.
And it's bad. You'd think that's a place that should do better, being a major metropolitan area. I know it's in one of the coldest spots in the country in the winter, but still, they're not in a good spot right
now. No. All right, we got to take a break, and we're going to do a really quick version of Showdown. What do we got? We got 93 versus 2003 coming up. Yeah. If you want to head to the Brewers home opener on Monday, April 3rd, you can hop on the bus with us. Be grilling some brats. Got the tailgate package included. Johnsonville Party Deck tickets on there. More info can be found at sportstalk1051.com. We got the icon right there on the homepage. Otherwise, you can go to wiscotrips.com. Be Brewers taking on the Mets for that home opener, too. So big time early season National League matchup there. So it's already just a little over a month away, baby. Now we can say the end of the month is actually going to be opening day.
Yay.
So we do have something we're working on for a little viewing party for opening day too. More details to come. I don't know if this matters, but Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers for The Athletic, finished listening to the entire podcast now.
Apologies to him.
Insightful conversation about a lot. Darkness Retreat, last season, life, etc., but no final decision on what he wants to do. After listening, I still think he plays, and he plays for the Packers.
Okay.
So there you have it.
All right.
Another man's opinion. So let's do a little bit. By the way, quick, I want to throw this out there because I'm being self-serving here a little bit, okay? Listen to DP talk about golf. By the way, do you have Netflix?
Do have Netflix.
Watch the Full Swing doc. I don't know if you have or not.
I've not yet watched it, no.
But I just pushed a button on here that I don't know how to get out of, but okay. Oh, boy, what did I do? Oh, whatever. Because my hand hit the screen, and now it's like got these weird buttons on here, so I don't know what I did. Anyways, I am so ready for golf season. First of all, that Full Swing doc, I've said it too many times now. People are probably going to be like, shut up about it. But here's the thing. Learning about those other players, their background, because I've been one, it's like Tiger, all about Tiger.
Yes.
You learn the background, a little bit of history and insight on these players. I'm a fan now of multiple players. One of them being Tony Finau. It's a great story about Tony Finau.
I did hear on SV Pod they were talking about that, Doc, and they were talking really highly of Tony Finau. Now, again, that's Scott Van Pelt, who is one of the biggest golf people of major personalities out there. He's probably right at the top of those that know the sport really well. So he would he talks to a lot of these people a lot. But yes, he and Stanford Steve were praising the heck out of Tony Finau.
Yep.
And that as part of that documentary.
Yep. So I won't ruin it, but now I've got a goal. I want to hit consistently in the 70s this year. So that's my goal. I've got 3 goals for golf this year. Hit in the 70s. I want to hit up a bunch of courses, do a little tour and such. Try new courses I haven't been at. And I want to get some poker chip ball markers. And I can't find where I can get these. I don't want 100 of them. I just want a few of them, and I don't know where to get them.
Should be fairly easy, I would.
Well, think. I can go to Etsy, but I was hoping somebody around here. I don't want to you got the minimum of 100 or on there. I don't want to do that. I don't have that. I don't have that kind of cash.
Well, buy that and then put your signature on them and then sell them.
Nobody's going to buy that. I'd have to pay people to buy that. Kidding me?
With a Dan Kasper logo on it?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. There you go.
I'd have to pay people to take that.
For the Kasper, Dan Kasper Classic. Do we have a date on the Kasper Classic?
Should be coming soon. I've got a date in mind. I just have to confirm it.
Okay.
I've got my date in mind, but I have to confirm it.
Will there be, I'm randomly throwing this out here, so I might be completely blowing up the plans. Will there be a celebrity golfer this year?
Define celebrity.
Well, that's the thing. Your definition of celebrity.
I guess I never thought of that.
Yeah.
But
you could be golfing with...
You're really putting a lot of pressure on this now.
I am. Jeez. I mean, look, if it's a classic, it better be good.
Man. Wow. Well, G-Man's a celebrity, so there you go.
Okay, good. You could be in a foursome with G-Man.
Ooh, that might be a good little...
Hey, bring up Chance Dickman. I mean, what? He's got another house to sell. Woo, okay, come on. He can come up and golf for a day.
G-Man, we might have to do an auction to golf in G-Man's foursome or twosome or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That would actually be pretty fun.
Yeah. All right, you ready to do a little a quick edition of Showdown here?
Yes, let's.
Okay. All right, let's just jump into it. So 93 sports. That was one of the Cowboys Super Bowls against the Buffalo Bills, 52-17 domination.
Gosh, yeah.
Alabama won the national championship over Miami in 93.
On New Year's Day, I remember watching that one. Yep.
Baseball, this was the Rockies and Marlins first seasons. World Series, Toronto beat Philly. Weird. This is where I've heard from like former Brewers fans, and I say former because this is the reason why they're not Brewers fans anymore. Paul Molitor was the series MVP for Toronto that year, and the upset that the Brewers didn't keep him.
It was the end of the Robin Yount era. 93 was his last season.
Joe Carter hit that walk-off home run.
One of the most memorable. I mean, that we're talking potentially a Mount Rushmore moment. Like it's in the discussion for that.
North Carolina beat Michigan in that very infamous
timeout game.
Yep.
That was a heck of a game, though.
Yeah. Bulls beat Charles Barkley's Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals.
Absolutely. Well, 93 was a very interesting year for Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Then he announced his retirement. I think his father passed away that year, too.
That was that summer. He retires. All of that happened in 93. Greg Norman won the Open.
We don't say that name. I'm just kidding.
Rory,
you better watch what you say. I'm just. I don't know. You saw that.
Yeah.
So.
Let's see what else.
I want Rory and Greg Norman in a celebrity death match, MTV Clay matchup.
I would watch that immediately.
I mean, these two right now, holy moly. This is like Bob Barker and Happy Gilmore between these two.
What can we do to get these two to play each other in a one-on-one match on primetime TV?
Oh, man.
I am watching that.
And the winner, that's the league that survives.
Oh, gosh. PGA is winning that one.
Yes.
Yep. I mean, that is the death of Liv. If Greg Norman's got to beat Rory, oh, man, Rory's winning that one. I know Greg Norman is totally in the Bob Barker role, but he's not winning a whole match. Nope.
Yeah.
Canadians, I remember Patrick Roy leading
Yep.
Canadians to the win there. Oh, yeah, that was the year that the North Stars left.
Good year for you.
No.
What else do we got here? Stanley Cup. Oh, yeah, he's mentioning that. Canadian.
See, the Bucks adopted purple. I'm trying to think of Wisconsin things. Hey, that was the year the Badgers had their first really good season.
Yep.
I remember the Ohio State tie. There's the Michigan game, the win. They had the infamous ending with the stands, but that wasn't the team. The team was really good. Brent Moss, rest in peace. He had the breakout year that year. I mean, that was a memorable season for the Badgers. Packer-wise, I mean...
Oh, yeah, there's some guy named Brett, right?
Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Holmgren. Yep. They were actually kind of good that year. So, I mean, pretty heavy year. All right, 2003, match it.
Yeah. 2003 was the Super Bowl was the Gruden Bowl. Buccaneers over the Raiders. Ohio State beat Miami. That was one of my favorite national champions. I remember watching that thing, staying up late and watching that because I had to work at the gas station at like 5 o'clock the next morning. That was one of the best games.
It was a good one.
Man, was it Maurice Claret?
Yep. And that questionable call in that game.
Yep.
That was the year of the call that put Paul Allen on the map. that was that game, the one in December, the one we were,
Cardinals,
that one. Yep, that was 2003. I know all about it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was football. College wise, I mean, besides what we just mentioned,
the World Series. That's when the Marlins beat the Yankees.
Still weird to think of that. I mean, and that was the more legit Marlins team compared to the 97 one, which is like a total just buy up free agents. Aaron, that was This was
ALCS.
This was like the end of the steroid era, where Palmeiro and Sosa had their 500th. This is right before all hell broke loose. It's kind of the end of that run. The Brewers were a non-entity at that point. Twins were okay. I mean, they made the playoffs. course, they lost. Hadn't yet started the streak yet, but the Brewers were putrid at that point. But there was interesting things in baseball. But yeah, that was the big one. And the Cubs, to say nothing of.
We tried to avoid that, Cubs fans, but we can't.
Sorry, that was 2003. Bartman.
Yeah.
Was that year. Basketball.
So the Spurs won it again. That year they won their second NBA title, defeating the Nets.
Yeah, we were kind of falling into the depths of defensive basketball at that point.
This was the Carmelo Anthony Syracuse national championship over Roy Williams' Kansas, because that was the last game coached by Roy Williams in Kansas, because then he jumped ship to North Carolina.
With the interview with Bonnie Bernstein afterwards, he drops the S word on TV. Hey, Marquette made the Final Four that year.
That was the Dwayne Wade one, yeah.
Yep. Pretty good year for Wisconsin basketball in that regard, anyway. But the Badgers got to the tournament. It's just Marquette went on a run.
Yep.
That year.
What else do we want to throw up on here? Because I know we got to get going here.
Hockey-wise, that was the 1 year the Wild made it to the conference finals. They actually won more than one playoff series. That was the year the Mighty Ducks got to the took the Devils to 7 games. Jean-Sebastien Giguère, the ultimate hot goalie. He single-handedly brought him all the way along. Mike Weir won the Masters.
I remember watching that one, and I remember watching Furyk win his first major, the U.S. Open, that year too. So one of the more iconic swings from Furyk. The little twirl at the top.
Back to hockey, Gophers won their second straight NCAA championship. What won the Aussie Open? Federer won Wimbledon. Serena won a couple. So where do we go with this?
This is a tough one. I might go 93 though.
And I'm thinking 93 as well. It's close. You've got baseball has 2 very iconic moments, but the Carter one tops in that regard. I'll go 93.
Yeah, the only thing that's really getting me for 03 is that Buckeyes and Hurricanes game.
Yeah.
Like I still remember watching that thing, and I love that game. That's on my short list of one of the most entertaining college football games. So, but I might go 93. Just a little bit more depth to that one.
Yeah, I think so.
So, all right, music.
Music-wise, some of your big, album-wise in 93, some pretty good ones. In Utero from Nirvana, Versus from Pearl Jam, Siamese Dream from the Smashing Pumpkins, Enter the Wu-Tang was that year. Europa from U2. Bjork debut. Exile in Guyville, Liz Phair was that year. Are You Gonna Go My Way from Lenny Kravitz. August and Everything After from the Counting Crows. Doggy Style. Snoop Dogg's breakthrough year was 93. Yeah, which meant that Snoop Doggy Dogg. That was, remember that? 93. Yeah. The Chronic was really big that year. I think it came out at the end of 92, but 93 was Nothing But a G Thing. And Dre Day was like that dominated the year. Other big hits that year, Whoop, There It Is. UB40's Can't Help Falling in Love. That's the Way Love Goes. Janet Jackson, Dream Lover from Mariah. A Whole New World was a #1 hit that year. Runaway Train from Soul Asylum. I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles, which was actually 5 years old at the time. Hit. Two Princes from Spin Doctors became a hit that year, even though it came. It's a lot of good stuff. Hip Hop Parade was a big hit that year. Now on to 2003. 2003 albums. The Black Album from Jay-Z. Speaker Box, The Love Below from Outkast. This was 50 Cent year. Get Rich or Die Tryin' came out that year. Meteora from Linkin Park came out that year. Dangerously in Love, Beyonce's solo debut came out in 2003. Elephant from the White Stripes. So your songs: In the Club from 50 Cent. PIMP from 50 Cent. Magic Stick, 50 Cent. 21 Questions from 50. It seemed like 50 Cent was on every third song that year. Right There, Chingy. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Right There.
Yep.
Crazy in Love, really good. Ignition. I mean, it was a good one for a while, and you just can't really.
Yeah.
Bring Me to Life, Evanescence. Picture, Kid Rock, Sheryl Crow.
Oh God,
I wonder if those two could have a conversation today.
I don't know.
It could be I might want to be a fly in the wall on that one if those two came together today. Yeah, it's 1993. I'm sorry.
Well, I think 93 is going to sweep this because I'm going to start off with 03 movies here. So one of my favorite movies, this was actually one of my first DVDs I remember getting for Christmas. Bad Boys 2 came out in 03. Had the album too. Shake Your Tail Feather? Oh, yeah. Are you there? Nope.
All right, it's done.
Good.
It's done. Yeah. Lil Jon doesn't put it back over the top, does it for you?
No.
Okay, so it's 93.
Yeah.
Advances.
So 93 is going to sweep this because I'll just go through the movies quickly.
Yeah.
Starting off with 03. I mean, okay, you had Bruce Almighty, Cheaper by the Dozen, Cold Mountain, I guess. Bad Boys 2, as I was saying, was one of my favorite movies. It was one of my first DVDs I remember getting for Christmas. The Matrix Reloaded. You had The Bad Hulk. You had Old School come out. Monster came out. I guess if you're into rom-coms, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Too Fast, Too Furious. You got 13, Kill Bill, School of Rock. Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously, was a big one. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. But you look at 93 now.
Oh, boy.
Rookie of the Year, great baseball movie. We were just talking about that with Brandon on the latest podcast, Daniel Stern. Cool Runnings, John Candy. Wayne's World 2, Gettysburg, great movie. You got Dennis the Menace, Grumpy Old Men. I forgot about this movie, but it was on TV all the time, and as a kid, I watched it. Last Action Hero, Arnold Schwarzenegger. The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is becoming like a cult classic now because you see that stuff all over today. I remember having the VHS of that as a kid. So I Married an Axe Murder, underrated comedy. Hocus Pocus is like everybody's new favorite movie, I think, of older people like our age now when it comes to Halloween.
Yes.
You got Indecent Proposal. You've got
The Piano.
Philadelphia. Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, Sleepless in Seattle. A great Mel Brooks comedy. Robin Hood Men in Tights. Yes. Yes. Love that movie. Sandlot, Crying Out Loud, Demolition Man, Super Mario Brothers, awful movie. I hope this new one's better. Family Values, Groundhog Day, Tombstone, Your Huckleberry. I mean, the top two, Schindler's List and Jurassic Park.
And you skipped over a bunch which would have bolstered it as well. Like, wow. 93, gosh, 93 might have been like
What's Eating Gilbert, right?
Yeah. That might have been like at movies peak, maybe.
The first movie I remember going to, or one of the first movies going to a movie theater, was Jurassic Park. And I went to it twice.
Yeah.
I think the very first one I went to was the Aladdin cartoon version. But yeah, I remember going to Jurassic Park twice at the theater.
Yeah,
so.
Understandable. It was huge.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty obvious. 1993 advances.
93 sweeping its own way through.
Yep, it was good.
A lot of one-liners in some of these movies too. Tombstone. I'll be your Huckleberry. Good movie.
It's solid.
Good movie.
All right. Want to go.
93. Moving on. We're going to move on too. After this quick break, we'll recap everything. More stuff's coming up out of this podcast too, by the way. All right, wrapping things up here. We only got a few minutes to go. So Jeff Darlington from the mothership ESPN, was it last week? I think that he was one of those that had reported that he talked to a high senior Packers official, and when he talked to him, he said that that person believed Aaron was going to be back and that everything was getting overblown in that. Maybe a little bit of a different tune from Jeff Darlington this morning now. First of all, he said it. He tweeted out, "It's hard to imagine the Packers reading these comments and getting the quote team guy vibes they want to hear from their quarterback, and they do want to feel those vibes from their quarterback." Plus, he had this to say this morning on Get Up. So that's again Jeff Darlington from ESPN. We just said Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers for the Athletic, said that he, after listening to it, and he followed up by saying, I think based on multiple reasons, that if Aaron wants to play, it'll be in Green Bay. Moral of the story is nobody in their right mind knows what's going on. So
I feel like everything is a shruggy emoticon right now. I don't know. Yeah, it's this whole thing. Like after hearing this, I am more convinced than ever that here's one person going one way, here's one person going the other way.
Right.
Great.
If that is the case, what Jeff said, playing a little hardball, right? Green Bay's playing a little hardball. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I saw Andrew Brandt responded to someone's tweet earlier this morning saying, well, why not demand him to come in and do all the work, play with the resident? To which he responded like, well, that would basically be saying we want you to go away.
Right.
Because Aaron Rodgers is not going to agree to that.
And here's my counter to that. If Aaron doesn't do that and you still want to play and you're going to go to another team, you're not going to do that with your new teammates?
Because he's earned the right to not do that.
Right. And then you're going to get more of the like, well, there's the chemistry, there's the connection, there's nothing there. You should have showed up. I mean, you're going to just roll into preseason training camp and not be there to, work out with your new teammates.
Okay. Would you rather have Aaron Rodgers skip a lot of the offseason workouts, kind of do what he did last year, maybe even a little bit less, not almost at the margins where you almost can't tell the difference? Or would you rather have Jordan Love take part probably in everything? What would you rather take right now and then knowing what the likely result is during the season?
I'd probably have to go with the Love part.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if the point is for the Packers to win, I mean, I think you're more likely to get a repeat of Rodgers' performance. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the entire team. The team might be better. I don't know that as much is going to go wrong this next season as we saw last season, but Rodgers may not be that much more of an asset if he's not taking part as much. I mean, if that's a demanding factor, if I'm in Brian Gutekunst's position, I'm like, no, he's talented, but no, he needs to be in part of this, and that's not going to fly.
Do you think? I would be curious to hear. I don't think we'll ever hear it publicly, but the other players on this team, like Rasul Douglas tweeted out last night, I ain't talking about no quarterback stuff. Please don't start that with me. And then, I know in the season you had Devondre Campbell, and I think it was Sean Levitt say that, they were singing the praise of Jordan Love. And I think Campbell even said Jordan Love is better than a lot of starters in this league. At some point, your teammates are watching this. The rest of the players are watching this.
Mm-hmm.
I think there will be. I mean, Aaron's got his buddies, right? He's got his buddy David Bakhtiari. David Bakhtiari probably wants Aaron to come back, right?
Yeah, right.
He's probably some other players on there too. But I also feel like I do get the impression that a lot of these other players have Jordan Love's back too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they'll be like, all right, he's our guy. We rally behind him.
It's not like Jordan Love is hanging out at home waiting for his opportunity. He's with the team all the time.
Right.
Also, based on what we can, and again, we don't know who all is with whom, loyal to whom. Doesn't it seem like more of Rodgers' guys are the ones who are more likely to be done with their careers pretty soon?
Yeah. Randall Cobb. Yeah.
David Bakhtiari.
Yeah.
Mason Crosby.
Alan Lazard. Is he coming back? Is it going to be too much?
So what are we valuing here? Is this Packers' greatest hits, or are you trying to win? I mean, I'm sorry, but I think the Patriots' approach is probably the better one, the Belichick approach. Find a way for the team to win. Packer fans, I would think, any team's fans mostly want to win a championship. They don't want to just go out with a certain player. They want their team to win.
Yeah.
I mean, my opinion, as much as I can try to be as unbiased, there's a very big challenge. I think long-term Love is the better answer right now. It's tough to say, but I think so.
And like I said at the beginning, you know, when Goody was flat out asked, do you want Rodgers back? And he danced around it. I think what else I think he's got to play that Sweden role. He's got to, you know, he can't sit out there and say, I want Aaron back. It's going to piss off Jordan Love.
Right.
You know, he's got to play that role.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the position he's in right now.
And they'd still do well with Rodgers, but I think the ceiling's higher with Love.
Never, and still the rest of the stories, however that soap opera. These are the days of our lives.
Turn the hourglass.
Yep. All right. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.